Back here on this Saturday morning, Steve Kashul and Dr. Charles Bush-Joseph subbing this week for Dr. Brian Coe. They're both from Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush. It's Sports Medicine Weekly. Our website is sportsmedicineweekly.com. Chicago's premier sports medicine program coming your way each and every Saturday morning from 8 to 9, only on 670 The Score. And I know at Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush, you guys get involved with a lot of things. And I know we're going to be talking up here next about Athletico and your participation with them and combining on some nice public educational forums and workshops.
You know, Steve, we've had a long relationship with Athletico. They're one amongst the premium providers of athletic and physical therapy services in the Chicagoland area. And we've worked for them for many years. And part of what we do is our job is to help educate the public. And people get home and they listen to our programs and they wonder, what's wrong with me? Or how do I improve myself? How can I improve my conditioning? And so I see venues like this and to help really get the people to be able to function at a higher level.
All right, well, let's bring on one of our specialists from Athletico. He is Joe Estes, and also from Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush, Dr. Grant Garrigues. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us. Joe is the director of Athletico Golf Performance Center in Oak Brook, and Dr. Garrigues is a shoulder specialist, right?
Grant's a shoulder specialist that we recruited up from Duke University, and he's joined us in the past couple of months. We're very happy to have him. He's one amongst the nation's experts in shoulder surgeries, both simple, complex. So we're very happy to have him join the staff.
Good. Joe, we'll start with you. Joe Estes from Athletico. How did you guys get together here with Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush? And tell me about the workshops coming up.
Yeah, so we have two phenomenal workshops coming up. One on Wednesday, November 7th. It's going to be in Oak Brook at Oak Brook Hills. And we have one on December 5th in Hinsdale at Ruth Lake Country Club. And I was presented the opportunity, being the golf guy kind of for Athletico, to join with MOR and doing some of these lectures for the community to just come by and get some free information, hearing from some of Rush's top doctors and surgeons on knee pain, shoulder pain, spine pain, hip pain from some doctors I've had the privilege of working alongside for a while with their patients. And as Dr. Bush-Joseph said, we have a great relationship with the doctors at Rush, and I've really enjoyed working with the physicians there, and we just have a nice little night to come and just share our knowledge and help out some people that might have some questions about some ongoing issues they might be having, or just give them some good preventative tips and ideas, and to allow some of the great doctors at Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush to give some free tips for them and some good medical knowledge.
Joe, tell us more about the Athletico Golf Performance Center. That's in Oak Brook. I've been there before. We've had our Golf Scene TV show tape some segments out there, but people may not be aware. Right across from Oak Brook Center, it's really a neat place.
Yeah, I think it's still weekly that I get people coming in and they walk through the front doors and don't realize the size of the facility that we have just from the exterior and being in the parking lot with the high ceilings. And we have a 10,000 square foot facility, and we have everything from a chipping and putting green indoors to a hitting bay where there's about 3 stalls where you can hit full drivers into the nets. And then we just purchased a golf simulator, high-definition golf simulator a couple years ago that is open to the public. So people that aren't patients can come in and pay to use that for either driving range time or playing rounds of golf indoors. It's just a cash-based system that you don't have to be a patient of Athletico to utilize, and it's been a lot of fun and doing some cool stuff with that. But we've been fortunate to have some very cool biomechanical technology, K-Vest. We have 3D swing analysis software that we use our K-Vest system for. And then I'm a TPI, Titleist Performance Institute, certified golf fitness instructor. And so I take a variety of clients and patients through all sorts of performance training and biomechanical analysis of their golf swing. And that's kind of my focus and specialty at Oak Brook.
You know, Joe, this is Chuck. As a satisfied client of the Athletico Golf Performance Center, I can say it really helped me. Although I have to tell you, the first evaluation I had there was a number of years ago, and it was an X-rated video. When I looked at it, I said, that's pornography. And luckily, your staff broke me down and unfortunately pointed out some tremendous deficiencies that I had in both my hip motion and my shoulder activity that certainly I thought it was very, very, very helpful. And really, I think that combination of fitness training, biomechanics and repeatable athletic performance is so key that people like me and Steve, we're looking for every Saturday morning, like this morning. So let me ask Grant. Grant, the achy golf shoulder is something that's very common. And when I'm on the first tee playing with my friends, I get that all the time. What is your approach to that, quote, sore shoulder where a guy is playing? And when do you tell him he's got to back off or get more active in his care and treatment?
Yeah, Chuck, I think that's a great question. I mean, it's such a common presentation, and our goal is really we don't want to back off, and if we back off, we don't want to back off too long because we want all of our athletes to get back to what they love quickly and effectively. But it is a common presenting complaint. It does keep people off the links. It's because golf requires such a unique combination of both strength and flexibility, and I think some people will have one without the other, and that's a common problem, and that's where our partnership with our physical therapy colleagues really comes into play. So the nice thing is a lot of these aches and pains can be solved with just some very simple directed exercises, but you need to put in that proper maintenance, especially, recently moving here after 8 years at Duke where it was year-round golf. Here you've got that long off season where you might kind of lose some of your fighting form and then try to come back quickly in the spring, and that may be, a little bit of a problem if you haven't taken good care of your body in the off season.
I used to say I'm a victim of that, Grant, and I generally say my golf game does not round into form until late end of June. So I lose a lot of money in April and May, and certainly early June before I even get close to neutral on the golf course.
But I totally agree, and I think the bottom line there is, any aches and pains we're happy to see. Just because we're surgeons doesn't mean we're going to pounce on you with a knife. We can help direct physical therapy, point you in the right direction, give you some helpful tips, make sure it's not something more sinister. Certainly, if you've failed therapy or you're having difficulty or it's ongoing, that might be the mark of something more troublesome. But really, any problem that slows you down, impacts things you love, is, I think, worth a visit to the doctor to get that solved.
You're listening to Sports Medicine Weekly here on 670 The Score. Steve Kashul here with Dr. Charles Bush-Joseph from Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush, joined by another doctor, Dr. Grant Garrigues from Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush, and also Joe Estes is on the line with us, director of the Athletico Golf Performance Center in Oak Brook. And Joe, I wanted to ask you, talk a little bit about some of the common injuries that you are seeing from golfers during the winter months, and you guys try to. What is your suggestions, takeaways for some of the listeners there that want to play golf? I know I shut it down a lot. I've got my bull season, and I'm not a big cold weather player. I love to play golf in the summer, but I at least try to hit balls. But I know it's important to keep the game going. Correct?
Yeah, there's definitely two seasons of golf in Chicago, and even in my clinic, there's two seasons of golfers that I will see throughout the year. And usually during the golf season, I'm seeing all of my patients that are coming in with their aches and pains that they have during their golf swing or just their daily life that's interfering with their ability to play. And then usually during the off season, as we start kind of rounding into November, December, kind of getting into these winter months here, we start getting a little bit more of the people that are really serious about their game and their bodies and want to kind of really tune up as they head into the winter, looking at improving their fitness, improving their mobility and strength. But then we'll still get the golfers that'll come in. And the biggest thing by far that I see is low back pain in the clinic as far as what I'm treating. Not that the spine has anything, that may not be the original problem. It may be manifesting in the spine, but we have to look above and below the back at looking at the upper spine, looking at the hip mobility, hip strength, core strength, why someone's pain might be manifesting as spine pain. Aside from spine, I do see a lot of shoulder. Dr. Garrigues was a big shoulder guy, so we see a lot of rotator cuff tendonitis, rotator cuff tears, upper back pain that might be related to the shoulder blades and the rotator cuff. And then we also see a lot of elbow and wrist as well from, hard impact with the turf, causing sprains and strains through the elbow and wrist as well. We have an occupational therapist at our facility who sees a lot of that, but if it's very golf specific, they will get fed my direction. So you really see a full gamut of everything, but I'd probably say the top three are going to be your lower back, your shoulder, and your kind of upper extremity, kind of hand, wrist area.
Joe, let me ask you this. Does a bad swing lead to, or does bad mechanics lead to a bad swing? Or I guess the average golfer wants to know, how do I make my swing better? If I look and I see Freddie Couples, who has a history of back problems, but he's got wonderful turn. And I'm sure you have to make adjustments. Not everybody, Chuck Bush-Joseph, I know Steve Kashul is never going to get that Freddie Couples turn.
No.
How do we get our distance and strength, though?
It's a really good point, because you look at somebody like Fred Couples, who has one of the sweetest, smoothest swings you'd ever see, and yet he still has back problems. It's just our spines are just not designed to swing a golf club. There's so much rotational force and power and speed that we need, and so it's really difficult. And you're right, any little abnormality in movement away from normal mechanics just tends to kind of produce wear and tear over time and starts to turn into these overuse injuries. And what might be a small problem, a 1 or a 2 out of 10 pain that you can knock out with an Advil or something after you play, can turn into that 4 or 5 out of 10 pain that just doesn't really go away and is now affecting your daily function. So we have to look at the mechanics of the golf swing overall, and I have to look at someone's hip and their leg strength, even if they're complaining of shoulder pain, because there may be something that's affected that you're not really looking at if you're focusing on just what your problem area is. So the mechanics are very, very important, and even in the high level golfers, you have a perfect swing and you can still have pain.
Grant, let me ask you this, and we're in the Chicago winter golf season now, so I have a lot of patients that come in and say, listen, I played golf all season with an achy sore shoulder that was unresolved, and I had an MRI. My doctor told me I have some rotator cuff symptoms and problems, and maybe I should consider surgery. I get a lot of patients ask me, what's the typical recovery times? I know that with fabulous skilled surgeons like yourself that are doing these procedures arthroscopically, what do you tell a patient? How long, if they do require surgery, before they can get back swinging the club? Is it months or years? What's the usual rule of thumb on different diagnoses?
Right. So the first thing to note is that a lot of people have small rotator cuff tears, partial tears. We call these the gray hair and wrinkles of the shoulder. They can be a normal process in the aging shoulder and really are frequently asymptomatic. No problems or pain from those. So we have to make sure we sort out the red herrings on the MRI from what's truly bothering the patient, and that can be done with a physical exam. If you do indeed have a full thickness rotator cuff tear, so a hole in the rotator cuff that requires surgical treatment, you're putting in a couple months, you're chipping in 3 to 4 months, and you're swinging away 4 months. It's a good 6 months before you're really getting kind of the length back and the distance back in your drive. So it's a long recovery in terms of getting back to golf, just because golf is such an intense activity with respect to the shoulders. It depends a little bit on which shoulder it is. If it's your lead shoulder, that's going to put more tension on the rotator cuff. But the nice thing is sometimes my patients thank me because they say, Doc, you really had me emphasize my putting, and now that I've been able to swing and play, you've really improved my golf game. I know we all probably could use a little time focusing on the putting, but we do allow putting as early as just a couple months out.
Great stuff, guys. We're out of time, but once again, we got big workshops coming up from Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush and Athletico combining. They'll have one at Oakbrook Hills Golf Course on November 7th, just in a few days, and then one on December 5th, and that one is going to be at Ruth Lake Country Club. And a great place, right? I've never been to Ruth Lake. You're inviting the public to come in, right?
Yeah, Steve, you're out there. You and I are going to play golf there next year.
I hope so. I think Fred Hoiberg's a member out there as well.
He doesn't have much time this time of the year, but
that's right.
Fred's a long ball hitter.
And his sons are better than he is, he tells me.
They are.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's great stuff. Dr. Grant Garrigues, shoulder specialist from Midwest Orthopaedics at Rush, and Joe Estes. Go see Joe at the Athletico Golf Performance Center in Oakbrook. Their website is athletico.com. Great stuff, guys. Really appreciate it. Good. Best of luck with your workshops.
Thanks very much. Stay healthy.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
All right, guys, thanks so much. And when we come back here on Sports Medicine Weekly, a really, really interesting story about a sudden cardiac arrest survivor and his advocate for the cause. So stay with us at Sports Medicine Weekly. Steve Kashul and Dr. Charles Bush-Joseph on this Saturday morning, only on The Score. You're listening to 670.